Hi, my name is Patrick, and I teach GIS for international applications at the Fletcher School. So I'm the instructor. Here's my contact information, and Phil Gomez is the teaching assistant, and there is his contact information as well. This is also on the syllabus. So GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. So what does that mean? What do we do with GIS? Well, what we like to do is take these spatial data sets or mapping data sets, if you will, things like roads and water and elevation and land cover and socioeconomic data and data on schools and hospitals and all sorts of stuff. And we like to try to answer spatial questions using a whole variety of spatial tools that we'll learn in this class. So we'll use all these geospatial methods and software to try to answer some spatial questions. Questions such as, where in South Africa is there a need for new cell phone towers? Right? This is a student project. So this is a final project for the course, which is a large format infographic. So that's the spatial question. He's using a variety of tools to find optimal areas for new 3G cell phone towers in South Africa. Other spatial questions that we try to answer are things like identifying areas in Bangladesh that are high risk for flood vulnerability, or identifying vulnerable regions and populations to conflict in Syria, or identifying those areas where there's a likelihood of rural to urban migration in Ethiopia. Or assessing the impact and risks of cholera outbreaks in Iraq. Identifying areas in Armenia for optimal wind farm locations. Calculating hotspot change in conflict. So conflict hotspot change over time. Where's conflict increasing or decreasing? Identifying areas in Tanzania for off-grid electrification. Or identifying areas sort of primed for ecotourism in Romania. What areas are optimal for ecotourism development? Or risks of radicalization. Or the impact on sea level rise in Liberia. Or identifying optimal locations for micro and small enterprise growth in Colombia. So these are some of the spatial questions, just a few that we try to answer in this class. And we learn how to do that. So what are the objectives of this course? Well, really, we use geospatial technology for data creation, mapping, and analysis, focusing on applications in the international context, probably more so in developing countries, but anywhere in the world. And the use of cartography for high quality visualization of conditions, issues, and especially analysis results. Here's the basics of the course. There's 5 assignments building up to a final project worth 500 points. There's also a series of exercises, 4 of which are graded, which 150 points. There's a final project poster, a large format infographic, 250, and class participation is worth 100 points. Attendance is mandatory, and then absent are minus 10 points after the first class, and if students are late, it's minus 2 points after the first class. This class has fewer readings than other classes, but there's definitely more time at the computer every week. Here's basically the course workflow. Students will always want to go to the Canvas site prior to this week to identify that week's materials. The lectures will be provided online in advance, so it's sort of a flipped schedule. And then Students will be able to see upcoming assignments, readings, that sort of thing. Students are expected to watch the recorded lectures prior to live class. So watch the lectures prior to the live class. The live class, which is mandatory, will be engaging in interactive activities, exercises, that sort of thing. The course is typically Wednesdays, 5:15 to 7:15. And we take a break midway through, usually around 6 or so, like that, 10 minutes. Software. We're primarily going to learn a software called ArcGIS. We'll use the most current version. It's industry standard software. And we'll also use desktop publishing software like Microsoft Publisher, get better at Excel, Snagit, and possibly even Quantum GIS, which is an open source software. That's optional. Students can access the software in a couple different ways. One is they can go into a computer lab, the data lab or Mark Lab or Mooger or wherever, and use it if they want to. Or Tufts has set up a very robust remote lab infrastructure. So students can use the software remotely from their home computer or laptop or whatever. So this provides remote access to all software in the data labs. The students must install the VMware client on their computer. It's a small client. And students also need to have internet access. And the software is also available if students want to install it on their own computer, provided they have a Windows computer. For storage, basically we use Box, very easy to use. We have tutorials on all of this, so students don't need to provide their own storage. So what do you need to take this class? Well, you need a Windows or a Mac computer with a semi-current operating system so that it can run the VMware client to use the remote labs. I do recommend purchasing a mouse if you don't have one, as using GIS with a trackpad, it can be a bit challenging. You need to have internet access, and you kind of need to know the basics of a computer. But if not, we can work with you on that. Everyone always asks about the course registration. It's often competitive to get into this course. So here's how it works. Second year students receive priority to ensure they can take the course during their time at Fletcher. The first class is mandatory. So if a student doesn't attend the first class, they'll be dropped from the course. This makes room for those students who really want to take the course. If a registered student decides they want to drop the course for whatever reason, they need to do so by 5 p.m. the next day, which would be a Thursday. So the other students can take the course. There's a lot of students who want to take this course. And then on that Friday, basically anyone who's on a wait list, if spots open up, they get into the course. Now, there are other courses at Tufts, other GIS courses. So if you go to gis.tufts.edu, gis.tufts.edu, and you go to Learning GIS, that's a list of all the GIS courses at the university. There are other additional intro GIS courses in different schools, nutrition, arts and science, etc. There's also courses in remote sensing, which is the use of satellite imaging for automated mapping and analysis of the Earth, especially students who are interested in more environmental or natural resource-based applications. There's courses in spatial statistics, and even a qualitative GIS course. So there are other GIS courses if you can't get into this one or it doesn't fit your schedule. That's all I have. Feel free to drop me a line by email. It's also on my syllabus if you have any questions. Thanks all.